Okay, I came back home early today. I used my half-day PTO for the afternoon. Today, I want to talk about something that has been hovering in my mind. But before we start, let me do some skin prep. I'm gonna go in with a foundation. I usually mix these two products, but today I'm just feeling more tan, so I'm just gonna go in with a matte. Well, actually, I'm just gonna mix just like one little drop of NARS as well. So the reason why I mix is because this is my winter shade and this is my summer shade. And right now I'm somewhere in between. So I'm gonna mix these two and make 2 layers. If you watched my vlog, I'm pretty sure you guys already have watched it, but my apartment was a mess. Like, it was a total mess. I was not good mentally, physically for the past 2 weeks. And now I'm slowly get back into, spring mood. Yeah, I didn't know I would start spring in this way, but it's fine. Anyway, today I want to talk about micromanagers. I realized something strange about myself recently. At work, I stopped asking a very basic question. I stopped asking what makes sense, but instead, I started asking something else. What would my manager approve? And that realization made me very uncomfortable, to be honest, because when that shift happens, something deeper is going on. Working for a micromanager doesn't just control your workflow, it slowly changes how you think about work itself. And that's what I want to talk about today. The psychological shift the moment you realize you're working for a micromanager, why it's problematic, and how it slowly rewires your thinking. Honestly, this video is also a reflection of myself. I really hope my manager or my HR doesn't find this video. I mean, there's no way. I recently started asking myself a different question. Why did I lose my sparkle at work? I don't think there is usually like one big dramatic moment. It's more like a series of small moments that slowly add up. And in my case, there were many. Now I'm gonna go in with concealer. Like, for example, every morning at work, every employee has to send like a to-do list to the company group chat. That might sound reasonable. Like, plenty of workplaces do something similar to that, I think. This wasn't something casual, like, here's what I'm planning to work on today. The manager that I'm talking about specifically, he actually reviews the list and gives feedback on it. So before the work even starts, your plan is already being monitored. And another example, as I go in with my contour, I don't blend the concealer out right away, but I go in with a stick contour first. Another example, every email we send out has to be approved by my manager. Not just like important emails, but like literally every email. And sometimes the feedback isn't about the content. Sometimes it's about something like much smaller. And one day, this is not about the email, but one day I used this tomato emoji. Just to give you a little bit of context, in our company, we use Notion for like internal documentation purposes. And for us, like at the company, it's pretty common for everyone to use like emoji. And one day I used tomato emoji and I received a long ass comment from my manager, my emoji use and how I use emoji, how that is so inappropriate. That was one of those moments where you pause and think, wait, are we really discussing this tomato emoji right now? But like this kind of pattern continues. There's so many examples. I can go on and on and on, but for the sake of, like this video, I'm just gonna stop here. But these are just like 3 little examples. There have also been like conversations where my manager told me that I talked down on him and that this type of behavior is not acceptable. But when I asked what specifically made him feel that way, there was a clear answer. And at one point, he also said something that really stuck with me. He said that if someone in this company doesn't get along with them, they need to either fix it or leave the company. And honestly, and that was a moment where something like clicked in my mind. Because that statement changes the dynamic completely. It means disagreement is not really an option. Another incident happened while I was on approved PTO. He called my personal phone around 2 or 3 p.m. while I was out of office. I answered very calmly, and later we had a conversation about it in the office. And the conversation quickly turned into a discussion about like client suicides and like emergencies, and how I need to be available to pick up the phone like all the time, like, which is so weird. Like, I'm in my approved PTO. So for context, I work in mental health field, so topic like SI ideation, like topics like that are very serious. I mean, like, even not in mental health field, but especially in mental health field, those topics are very serious, but bringing them up in that context also creates a certain kind of pressure. It definitely makes it difficult to set on normal boundaries. Eventually, I asked a very straightforward question during like our one-on-one. I asked, so what you want is for me to agree with you without providing any feedback or like asking any questions. And he said yes. That was probably the clearest moment because at that point, the expectation was explicit. Now I'm gonna go in with blush. For the first layer, I used really light pink. I'm gonna go in with the second layer as well. The reason why micromanagement is problematic goes deeper than just being annoying. There's actually a psychological concept that helps explain what happens in an environment like this. It's called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness happens when people repeatedly experience situations where their actions don't really change the outcome. And over time, they stop trying to change the situation, even if they are capable, even if they have good ideas, because their brain already has learned something. My effort doesn't matter. In a workplace with heavy micromanagement, something similar can happen too. You propose idea, you get overridden, you make decisions, you get corrected right away. You suggest improvements, they get ignored or criticized. Eventually, your brain just adapts. Second layer of blush. It learns that independent thinking is not rewarded. So it stops doing it. Not because you're incapable, but because you're adapting to that environment. Now we're gonna go in with contour. Let me contour my nose first because it needs some time to sit. Here we go. And this is where the most interesting change happens. Your thinking pattern starts to shift. At the beginning of your job, the most people think like problem solvers. They ask questions like, what actually solved the problem? What is the most efficient way to do this? You are more focused on outcomes, but after prolonged micromanagement, the question changes. Instead of asking what makes sense, you start asking, what will my boss question? What format do they prefer? How do I avoid criticism? What version of this will get approved the fastest? Your decision making becomes approval oriented instead of outcome oriented. And this shift is subtle but very powerful because once your thinking changes like that, your role at work changes too. Basically, you stop being a problem solver, you become someone who is trying to predict another person's preferences. The irony of micromanagement is micromanagement often damages the very employees that the company wants to keep. The good workers tend to be naturally curious, autonomous, and solution-driven. They enjoy improving systems, they like figuring things out, but under micromanagement, they slowly become something else. Like they become cautious, passive, and compliance-driven. Not because they all of a sudden became lazy, but because the system punishes independent thinking. How horrifying is that? After a while, you stop suggesting improvements, you stop taking initiatives, you just do what you're told. Not because it's the best solution, but because it's the safest one. After a while, you stop suggesting improvements, you stop taking initiatives, you just do what you're told. Let's do eyes. I recently have been thinking about why I felt like I lost my sparkles at work. There was a time when I genuinely enjoyed solving problems. I liked figuring things out. I liked improving processes. But somewhere along the way, that energy faded. And at first I thought maybe I was just burned out. But after thinking about it more, I realized it was that I adapted to an environment where thinking wasn't really encouraged. When your ideas get overridden often enough, your brain learns to just conserve energy. It stops generating new ideas, it stops trying to improve things, because why would it? And that realization is honestly really sad because work takes up such a big portion of our lives. And ideally, it should be a place where we can actually use our brain. And for me, the difficult part is leaving is not really an option for me with like all the other things that's going on right now in my life. And actually, I interviewed at a different company, and I got a job, but I decided to stay here because I thought it was not the right timing. Sometimes the job is still necessary. Sometimes timing isn't just right. So the real question, how do you continue being curious and thoughtful when the system reverses compliance? Honestly, I'm still figuring it out, and I would love to hear your experience. Like, have you ever experienced working with micromanagers? Like, how did you deal with it? How did you protect yourself? Protect your dignity, basically. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about my makeup today. It's a little different. I feel like I say this every time I wear makeup. I mean, I want to know, like, have you worked with a micromanager? And if you did, how did you deal with it? Today's makeup done. Do I look the same? Or do I look a little different today? I feel like I look a little different today. I don't know. I need to go. I need to head out. Actually, shit, I'm late. Okay, bye. See you next week.